There was a time when music made by African American artists was considered to be black music and not just music. But one song contributed to change this stigma. You may know Marvin Gaye for his love songs like Let's Get It On and Ain't No Mountain High Enough. But today let's take a look at the story behind what's going on, a protest song that changed music forever. A 22 years old African-American musician named Marvin Gaye knocks on the door of Motown Records, one of the most promising record labels at that time, founded by the visionary Berry Gordy, who discovered talents like Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, and The Temptations. Born in Washington in 1939, Marvin Gaye joined the United Air Force after dropping out of high school, but he quickly realized that a military career wasn't the right choice. So he went back to his childhood passion, music. At Motown, he started working as a drummer and a backup singer, but it didn't take long for everyone to realize that he could be a phenomenal solo artist. With passion and lots of ambition, Marvin released his debut album in 1961, The Soulful Moods of Marvin Gaye. Throughout the 60s, he mainly focused on making love songs, perfectly in line with the Motown formula, like the hit Ain't No Mountain High Enough featuring Tammy Terrell in 1967 and I Heard It Through the Grapevine in 1968. He was a brilliant artist and was admired for his delicate and sensual voice that could span the full range of human emotions. But Marvin Gaye was also a sensitive soul, full of empathy and very aware of what was going on in his country and for its citizens. So in 1971, he accepted to record the protest song What's Going On, written by Reynaldo Obi Benson of the Four Tops and Al Cleveland. And that's when his artistic career took a new turn.
Number one, and when I finally do have something to say that I feel should be beneficial for the world, and I feel the world is in an awful state, time, and I feel in the future that somebody will have to say something and have some credibility, and coin in those who are coinable. Everybody won't make it in.
As the world gathers to watch the American astronaut Neil Armstrong be the first man to walk on the moon in 1969, on Earth, in the United States of America, the nation is divided and doesn't seem to be able to reconcile. Millions of young Americans, often still doing their military service, are sent to fight a war they don't always understand. Despite the massive amount of weapons deployed by the US Army and the use of chemicals like Agent Orange, the American forces are struggling against the Viet Cong, leading to the death of more than 58,000 American soldiers and nearly 3 million Vietnamese people, including many civilians, between 1955 and 1975. At home, the number of anti-war protests is increasing, especially on university campuses. You have to understand that in the 60s, every American had at least one friend, family member, or neighbor serving in the Vietnam War, and that this conflict was highly reported on newspapers and on TV, as the number of TV entering people's homes was increasing each year since the 50s. Richard Nixon could have stopped the war when he was elected President of the United States in 1969, but he decided he wouldn't be the first American president to lose a war, so he kept going even if the country was growing more and more divided on the topic, and the war seemed pointless for many citizens. Protests were met with increased violence, which led to dramatic events like the Kent State University shooting in 1970, during which the National Guard fired against unarmed students, which resulted in 4 deaths. In parallel with the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement was actively working against racial segregation and discrimination against minorities, especially African Americans. But during the 60s, the social movement was faced with the loss of John C. Gerald Kennedy and 3 of its leaders, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King. When he came back from Vietnam, Frankie Gaye, Marvin's brother, shared what he had saw and the trauma he was going through, and something clicked in Marvin's mind. Marvin got tired of the way black people were treated as second-class citizens, what was happening in his country and in the world. Singing love songs didn't seem to make sense anymore at that time. The need to protest through music became too high. When Marvin Gaye told Berry Gordy, the head of Motown Records, that he wanted to release What's Going On as a single, it didn't go really well because Berry was against releasing music with a political message.
When Marvin Gaye wanted to do a protest album, I was petrified. I was very scared that he was going to ruin his image.
But with the support of other members of Motown, Marvin released the single in 1971, and it was a hit, becoming Motown's fastest selling single with 70,000 copies sold in just 1 week. Berry Gordy asked Marvin to write a full album to follow the success of the single. The song What's Going On and the album of the same name struck a very deep chord with the American audience. It resonated with what they were going through. It was the song they needed during this troubled time. The track has references to protest signs, the absurdity of the Vietnam War, and the name of the song is a statement rather than a question. But what's brilliant about it is the orchestration. The chatters and the improvised saxophone part at the beginning make us feel like we're just having casual conversation with friends around a drink on a Friday night. And Marvin Gaye managed to merge his signature groove and smoothness with powerful and peaceful lyrics. Yes, shifting from a love song to a protest song can be a very bold move, but he did it without losing his musical identity. He also managed to change the belief that many white Americans had at the time, that black music was not intellectual, deep, and that it couldn't resonate with the white audience. He also proved that artists can help push social change with music.
It did more to help me become an independent type.
What's Going On is definitely a timeless protest song. To this day, it resonates with many people around the world, as many of us are wondering what the hell is going on when we read or watch the news reports talking about the situation in the US, in Sudan, or Iran and Ukraine. If you haven't listened to the full album What's Going On, I urge you to do it, but not before you watch another one of our videos to learn more about The Clash and their groundbreaking single, The Magnificent Seven.